headlines for you today. As Sarah Sharif's father and stepmother are due to be sentenced for her murder, the government outlined new laws aimed at protecting at-risk children.
Those measures will include powers to withdraw the right to home education from parents of the most vulnerable children.
After Martha Mills died of sepsis in hospital, her family campaigned for better access to second opinions. New figures show the pilot service has led to life-saving treatment changes.
The government and water regulators are found to have broken the law by allowing the water companies to release sewage outside of exceptional circumstances. The government and regulators have broken the law by being too lenient on water companies that spill sewage. That is according to the UK's Environment Watchdog this morning.
The Office for Environmental Protection carried out a 2-year investigation after receiving a number of complaints about the state of our waterways.
So look at the figures then. So rivers, lakes and coastal waters across the UK have been polluted in a number of ways, including sewage spills, agricultural runoff and chemical pollutants.
Water firms can get permission to release untreated wastewater in rare circumstances, like when the system becomes overwhelmed by really heavy rainfall, blockages and unexpected equipment failures. This is to prevent the system backing up and flooding people's homes and businesses.
But of course it can have consequences for wildlife and for anyone who uses the water, including swimmers. And discharged sewage can contain E. coli bacteria, which causes diarrhoea, stomach cramps and fever.
Sorry if you're having your breakfast.
Yeah.
Last year, there were 3.6 million hours of sewage spills by water companies into England's rivers and seas. That is more than double the year before.
And we're at the Post Office inquiry into what's now known as one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British history. After more than 1,000 days, 2.2 million pages of evidence, we ask, what have we learned and why this isn't the end for the victims?
And you'll know our friend Tony Hudgell, who we've spoken to a lot here on Breakfast, about his challenges growing up as a double amputee. Well, he's just had emergency hip surgery. And he's had a very special surprise visitor to get him on the way.
Yeah, here he is, alongside Manchester United's Harry Maguire. That was a really special treat after what his mum has described as a tough 48 hours.
But he is so tough, isn't he, Tony?
He's just, his attitude is fabulous.
Astonished us with his resilience. And look, it's good to see that smile on the mend. He's got the merch. All good. Good luck, Tony. Good to see you smiling.
He's got the calendar. Right time of year to do that.
Yeah, it's true. He's got a ball.
Yeah. Now, it's exactly 18 minutes past 6. We're going to have a look at the front of today's papers. And the story of the alleged Chinese spy linked to Prince Andrew continues to dominate the front page as the Metro leads with the headline, the names Yang, Tembo Yang, after the alleged spy asked for a court order anonymising him to be lifted so he could deny the allegations against him.
Same story on the front page of the Daily Mirror, which asks how many more, referring to what it says are a growing number of fears about a network of Beijing spooks, it says, at large in Britain.
The Times front page reports that the new leader of Syria says his country won't be used as a launch pad for attacks against Israel or any other state. It says he also called for sanctions imposed on Syria during the rule of Bashar al-Assad to be lifted.
And the Financial Times this morning says a survey has found companies have cut back on hiring after a rise in business taxes that we've reported so much since it was announced by the Chancellor in her budget back in October. Seems like, well, I suppose it is months ago, but it's not that many months ago.
A long time ago. Yes, it is a lot. Feels like a lot of weeks ago. In the Times today, there's a great story that suggests that actually being a Disney princess is not great for your health. I think I could have told them this, John. It's really bad for you to try and be a Disney princess. No one wins.
Well, this is a study that's been published in the British Medical Journal today. It's been done by some Dutch academics who've gone through all the Disney movies and they've made a list of all the potential health problems that the princesses might suffer. For example, it says Cinderella was at risk of occupational lung disease because of all the ashes from with the pan.
She was working in the kitchen.
And her fairy godmother spread massive quantities of magical glitter, which contain aluminium-coated microplastics, which again could only increase her risk of lung disease.
Yes. I'm sold.
No,
let's not be Disney
Pocahontas
princesses.
was at risk of serious bone fractures from diving into a waterfall.
Yes.
Jasmine from Aladdin, risk of social isolation after being trapped in a castle, and Rapunzel's hair meant that she was at risk of traction alopecia.
And back pain and neck pain as well, apparently.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. I think let's go
Party
for a more
poopers? I
more
think it's
modern
tongue-in-cheek,
Disney.
yeah.
Disney princess maybe these days.
It's
I quite like Moana.
6:20.
Today at 6, the murder of 10-year-old Sarah Sharif. Her father and stepmother are sentenced to life in prison. Urfan Sharif must serve a minimum term of 40 years. Baynash Batul, 33 years.
Sarah's death was the culmination of years of neglect, frequent assaults, and what can only be described as the torture of this small child.
The former Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey, resigns as a priest over his handling of a child abuse investigation in the Church of England.
Still angry, we speak to the wrongly accused sub-postmasters as the post office inquiry comes to a close.
Campaigners react with anger as the government says there'll be no compensation for women affected by the change in the state pension age in the UK.
Which city in the UK is the most generous and why? Finally tonight, why Liverpool is officially the home of the warm-hearted. The city's been named as the UK's most generous place by a crowdfunding platform. It includes raising funds to save a baby hospice and to rebuild a library which was set alight during the riots.